Did Jeff Ulbrich just hint at a roster move upcoming for the Dirty Birds? While the answer might not be a 100% resounding yes, the answer is definitely not no. We'll talk about it here on today's episode of Falcons Today by Chat Sports. Welcome in, Falcons fans. My name is Moose. And before we do that, I have to remind you that we've got some incredibly important dates coming up for your off-season viewing pleasure. We're going to have boots on the ground at the NFL Combine starting next week. Chat Sports will be there, so keep an eye out for the latest surrounding Dirty Birds Combine content. March 9th is when the legal tampering period begins, and then March 11th, obviously, my brother's birthday, and the new league year. So if you haven't done so already, join the family that we've got growing right here. 51,145 subs to be exact and strong. So 2026 free agency is kind of the overarching umbrella of today's episode, and then we'll kind of deep dive into Jeff Ulbrich's suggestion in what he called for the Falcons in free agency. But right now, the Falcons currently have about $26.5 million in cap. You could see that number shoot well over $35 million with a couple of cuts that we'll see coming up here a little bit. And Ulbrich spoke on what he wants the Atlanta Falcons to do in free agency at his most recent press conference. Here is the exact quote. I think there is a subtle suggestion, or this is a subtle suggestion, said Ulbrich. But there's a huge investment in defense, especially on the defensive line and front. To me, that is where championship teams are built, not just championship defenses. I saw a graphic about every playoff team and their investment in their defensive line, whether it be draft capital or money, and the top defensive lines in the NFL were all the playoff teams. First of all, as a defensive coordinator, these are pretty wise words, and he's mostly right. Obviously, there could be a slight caveat to this because investing in your defensive line doesn't necessarily mean spending the most money, although for a lot of teams, that's exactly what it means. I can give you 4 teams that made the playoffs that heavily invested in their front four and their defensive lines. And the Houston Texans, who clearly have the best in the NFL, they're spending the most at $180 million, followed by the Steelers, Jaguars, and Broncos. Playoff team, playoff team, playoff team, playoff team. Now, that doesn't mean that this is the formula for getting to the playoffs, because you have to have complementary football. But what I think Ulbrich is trying to get across here is this. A strong defensive front is worth investing in, especially against the run. Now, we're going to break down where the Falcons rank against the run, but did you know that Atlanta currently ranks 22nd in defensive line spending at $117 million. Now, this was right before the start of the 2025 season, so these numbers are subject to change, but until we get a full roster construction with finalized contracts, we can only go off of the number that we saw before the season started. And the defensive line is definitely good. I will not say for a second that it's not, but I will also say that we've seen some injuries on this front. Zach Harrison, most notably, spent some time on IR, so when he comes back, this combo of this 4 right here should do very, very well. But there's still a little extra element missing. You need a certified run stopper. You need a home run hitter on that defensive line. Someone that can attack the quarterback, that can plug up the run, and can kind of move around the defensive line as a versatile chess piece. The Falcons' run defense last year was the worst part of their defense, ranked 24th last season. That's not nearly good enough. Now, there were a lot of great things. Our secondary was really good at times. Our pass rush was excellent, but we really struggled against the run. And believe it or not, Falcons Sports Illustrated says, yeah, you really have to really kind of hone in on that, because the Broncos, Patriots, Seahawks, Rams, Eagles, and Texans all featured waves of pass rushers and stout rush defenses. 8 of the top 10 scoring defenses made the playoffs last year, while the Super Bowl winning Seahawks were number 1, and the AFC champion Patriots were number 4, were the final team standing. Meanwhile, 9 of the top 13 rush defenses also made the playoffs. What is that telling you? The biggest fix for Falcons' success, especially on defense, is the defensive line. Is the defensive line. So yes, that is my answer. Now, I know that there's going to be plenty of people that say, no, it's the coaching. No, it's the wide receivers. But to me, this is how you fix an identity problem. The Falcons clearly showed their defensive lead last year. Now it's time to go from that defensive lead to defensive dominant. So yes, I'm typing YY for yes here in the comment section down below. And I'm sure you're wondering, well, how do you go from defensive lead, Moose, to dominating the defensive side of the ball? You have to add one final piece. And coming up next, I'm going to tell you the perfect replacement that I'm not only talking about, but ESPN is now singing the praises of. And he is a free agent, and he is predicted to come to the Dirty Birds. Now, before we do that, I've got to tell you about our sponsor of today's video, and that is Mars Men. Turned 30 years old yesterday. It feels the exact same as when I turned 29, but a key statistic for you. Did you know that when guys turn 30 years old, their natural testosterone starts to decrease, and then about 1% every year after that? So if you want to unlock usable testosterone in your body the natural way, you got to start taking Mars Men, which helps your body unlock that usable testosterone with 8 natural, clinically dosed ingredients supporting healthy T levels, energy, and stamina. Vitamin D, zinc, boron, and more. It's made in the United States. It is third-party tested. You also get a 90-day money-back guarantee, so there's very little risk. Worst case scenario, you don't absolutely love it, you get your money back. But over 91% of users report higher energy levels. Thousands of guys are feeling incredible results. So for a limited time, our listeners get 50% off for life, plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. It is a perfect way to kick off the new year strong. That is mengotomars.com. And you get 50% off and 3 free gifts when you check out. After you purchase, they're going to say, hey, where'd you hear about us? Please support our show and let them know that Moose from Falcons Today sent you. All of that is going to be in the comments and description of today's video. So ESPN came out with another article listing their perfect Falcons free agent fit. Try saying that 3 times fast or 5 times fast. But you'll start to see more articles like this come out every single day. Bleacher Report's doing it. PFF is doing it. ESPN's doing it. You can go on and on and on. So who, drumroll please, is that perfect fit according to the worldwide leader in sports? John Franklin Myers. Now, we've touched on him before on the channel, but I want to kind of rehash exactly why this is the perfect fit for the Atlanta Falcons. In more ways than one, believe it or not. So I'll explain on the back half of this episode why it's kind of a double hitter. But Matt Bowen was the one who wrote this article. Lunch, guys, it's coming back up. Matt Bowen is the one that was on this article. He said, under coordinator Jeff Ulbrich, Franklin Myers could be used as a versatile defender, playing as a nose or a 5 tech in the base fronts while providing an interior rush out of sub-package personnel. He had 7.5 and 23 pressures with the Broncos last season, 7.5 sacks. All of that is fancy jargon for you can move him around. You can kind of use him as a multifaceted defensive line player. He can play end, he can play tackle, he could play nose tackle, and he did play under Jeff Ulbrich, so there's already a connection there from 2021 to 2023. Penalized 7 times, which is a little bit higher than we would like to see. He is going into his 9th season in the NFL, and he plays for a team that I also cover in the Denver Broncos. Like I said, that versatile chess piece, though, is a 5 tech player. He is most detrimental. He is most damaging when he is playing in a 3 tech, however. He really can get after the quarterback, but I also love his ability to stop the run. Now, last year, you quite didn't see the immediate impact that you wanted to see in the run-stopping game or in the productivity in terms of total tackles, but he was really trying to capitalize on getting more sacks. He had more sacks than he did in 2024. He had 15 quarterback hits, 39 pressures, so you can still justify giving this guy a pretty handsome payday. Now, what's that going to cost? Somewhere around 3 years, $48 million. You could expect about $16 million a year for John Franklin Myers, maybe higher. But in my opinion, that is well worth the investment for a player who is still pretty much like in his prime, maybe not exactly at the top of it, but definitely still in that ballpark area. And here's another thought, and this is just kind of the elephant in the room, guys. This could be a potential James Pierce Jr. replacement option. We still have no idea if JPJ is going to play, and we have to brace for the worst. A lot of people believe it's not going to happen. And I did some homework. Shout out to Parker, who also was able to come through and give us the numbers on this as well. These numbers are a lot more similar than one would think. I mean, almost the exact same amount of tackles. Sure, James Pierce Jr. had more tackles for loss and more sacks and a higher pass rush win rate, but I'm not saying that John Franklin Myers is James Pierce Jr. That's not what I'm saying. JPJ is clearly a better talent, a younger talent, and definitely ascending, whereas JFM, we already kind of know what he is. But JFM could give you 80% of what JPJ was able to get you, and I still think that's a home run. Now, 80% for a much higher price, I get it. It's probably not ideal, but at this point, you have to get somebody to replace James Pierce Jr. if he's not going to play. And you might as well get a guy that's already linked to what Jeff Ulbrich loves to run. So if JFM is the best free agent signing in this entire draft class for the Falcons specifically, then let me know down in the comment section down below, yes or no. I don't know if it's the best, but it certainly is, you can wipe that sweat away knowing, okay, we have at least somebody that's going to give us somewhat of what JPJ was able to get us. Because if you don't sign John Franklin Myers and you don't add to this defensive line, you're 0 for 2, and that would suck. By the way, those upcoming dates, like I said, you got to be on the lookout for because we've got nonstop content coming your way. February 24th starts the Combine. March 9th, legal tampering period. And then free agency starts officially on the 11th. Make sure that you pull up by hitting that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up icon. Falcons fans, that's all I got for you on this episode. I'll be back later tonight with another episode. As always, rise up and be cool.